Imagine a world where giants roamed the earth, a world where woolly mammoths trudged through icy tundras, saber-toothed cats stalked their prey, and towering ground sloths grazed on vast grasslands. This was the world of the Ice Age megafauna, a time when colossal creatures ruled the planet. But then, something happened. Around 10,000 years ago, these giants vanished, leaving behind only fossils and unanswered questions. What caused their extinction? Was it humans, climate change, or something even more mysterious? Today, we're diving into the science, the theories, and the mysteries behind one of the most dramatic extinction events in Earth's history. Let's start by meeting the megafauna. The term megafauna refers to large animals, typically weighing over 100 pounds, that lived during the Pleistocene epoch. These were the giants of their time, and they came in all shapes and sizes. Perhaps the most famous of all was the woolly mammoth. Covered in thick fur and equipped with massive tusks, these creatures were perfectly adapted to the cold. They roamed across Europe, Asia, and North America, grazing on grasses and shrubs. Standing over 11 feet tall at the shoulder, woolly mammoths were true icons of the Ice Age. Then there was the saber-toothed cat, or Smilodon. With its enormous canine teeth, this fearsome predator was one of the most effective hunters of its time. It preyed on large herbivores like bison and camels, using its powerful jaws to deliver a deadly bite. Despite its name, the saber-toothed cat wasn't actually a true cat. It belonged to a separate branch of the carnivore family tree. But one thing's for sure, it was a master of its domain. And who could forget the giant ground sloth? These massive creatures, some weighing over 4 tons, were the size of modern elephants. Despite their size, they were herbivores, using their long claws to strip leaves from trees. Imagine a sloth the size of a bus, slowly lumbering through the forests of South America. It's almost hard to believe such creatures existed, but they did. Another iconic predator was the dire wolf, larger and more robust than modern wolves. These pack hunters were formidable predators, taking down prey much larger than themselves. They were so successful that their remains have been found in huge numbers at the La Brea tar pits in Los Angeles, where they became trapped while hunting. And let's not forget the short-faced bear, one of the largest carnivorous mammals to ever walk the earth. Standing over 11 feet tall on its hind legs, this bear was a true apex predator. With long legs built for running and a powerful bite, it was a force to be reckoned with. Finally, there were the glyptodons, armored giants that looked like oversized armadillos. These creatures were covered in thick, bony plates, providing protection from predators. Some species even had spiked tails, which they could swing like a club to defend themselves. Glyptodons were the tanks of the Ice Age, and they thrived for millions of years. These are just a few examples of the incredible diversity of Ice Age megafauna. But what happened to them? Why did they disappear? To answer that question, we need to travel back in time to the Pleistocene epoch, a period that lasted from about 2.6 million years ago to just 11,700 years ago. This was a time of dramatic climate change, with cycles of glacial advances and retreats shaping the planet. During the glacial periods, massive ice sheets covered much of North America, Europe, and Asia, while sea levels dropped, exposing land bridges like the one between Siberia and Alaska. The megafauna thrived in these harsh conditions, evolving unique adaptations to survive. Woolly mammoths, for example, developed thick fur and layers of fat to withstand the cold. Saber-toothed cats evolved powerful jaws to take down large prey, and giant ground sloths grew to enormous sizes, likely to deter predators. But despite their adaptations, the megafauna faced a major challenge: the end of the Ice Age. Around 12,000 years ago, the Earth began to warm, the glaciers melted, sea levels rose, and ecosystems transformed. Grasslands gave way to forests, and the habitats that megafauna relied on began to disappear. This period, known as the Pleistocene-Holocene transition, marked the beginning of the end for many of these giants. But climate change wasn't the only factor at play. Around the same time, humans were spreading across the globe, and their arrival coincided with the decline of the megafauna. This has led scientists to propose 2 main theories for the extinction of the megafauna: human impact and climate change. Let's start with the human impact theory, also known as the overkill hypothesis. According to this theory, humans hunted the megafauna to extinction. As early humans migrated out of Africa and into new continents, they encountered animals that had never seen humans before. These animals may have been easy prey, and with no natural fear of humans, they were quickly wiped out. There's evidence to support this theory. For example, in North America, the arrival of the Clovis culture around 13,000 years ago coincides with the disappearance of many megafauna species. Archaeological sites have been found with mammoth bones and Clovis spear points, suggesting that humans hunted these animals. Similar patterns have been observed in Australia, where humans arrived around 50,000 years ago, and many megafauna species went extinct shortly after. But not everyone agrees with the overkill hypothesis. Critics point out that some megafauna survived in isolated regions long after humans arrived. For example, woolly mammoths persisted on Wrangel Island in the Arctic Ocean until about 4,000 years ago, long after they had disappeared from the mainland. And in Africa, where humans evolved alongside megafauna, many large animals survived. This suggests that humans alone may not have been responsible for the extinctions. This brings us to the second major theory: climate change. The end of the Ice Age brought dramatic shifts in climate and vegetation. As the glaciers melted, grasslands were replaced by forests, and the habitats that megafauna relied on began to disappear. For example, woolly mammoths were adapted to cold, open environments, and as the climate warmed, their habitat shrank. Similarly, giant ground sloths depended on specific types of vegetation, and as forests replaced grasslands, their food sources dwindled. There's also evidence from fossil records that supports the climate change theory. For example, in North America, the extinction of megafauna coincides with the Younger Dryas, a period of abrupt cooling that occurred around 12,900 to 11,700 years ago. This event may have disrupted ecosystems and pushed many species to the brink, but like the overkill hypothesis, the climate change theory has its critics. Some scientists argue that megafauna had survived previous climate changes, so why would this one be any different? This has led some researchers to propose a combination of factors. Perhaps it wasn't just humans or climate change, but a combination of the two. For example, as the climate changed, megafauna populations may have become more vulnerable to human hunting, or as humans altered the landscape through fire and other activities, they may have accelerated the decline of megafauna habitats. This idea, known as the Blitzkrieg model, suggests that humans and climate change work together to drive the extinctions. But the mystery doesn't end there. There are other theories that have been proposed, some more controversial than others. For example, some scientists have suggested that a comet or asteroid impact may have triggered the extinctions. This idea, known as the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis, is based on evidence of a layer of sediment containing high levels of iridium, a rare element often associated with extraterrestrial impacts. Proponents of this theory argue that the impact would have caused massive wildfires, a nuclear winter, and the collapse of ecosystems. But this theory is still hotly debated, and many scientists remain skeptical. Another theory is that disease played a role in the extinctions. As humans migrated into new continents, they may have brought with them diseases that the megafauna had no immunity to. This idea, known as the hyperdisease hypothesis, is difficult to test, as there's little direct evidence of ancient diseases in the fossil record, but it's an intriguing possibility. So, what really caused the extinction of the megafauna? The truth is, we may never know for sure. It's likely that a combination of factors, humans, climate change, and possibly even disease or cosmic events, played a role. But one thing is clear: the disappearance of the megafauna had a profound impact on the planet. These giants were keystone species, meaning they played a critical role in their ecosystems. Their extinction would have caused a cascade of effects, altering the landscape and the balance of nature. For example, the loss of large herbivores like mammoths and ground sloths would have allowed forests to expand, changing the composition of plant communities. The disappearance of apex predators like saber-toothed cats and dire wolves would have allowed smaller predators to thrive, reshaping food webs. In many ways, the world we live in today is a product of the megafauna's extinction. But the story doesn't end there. In recent years, scientists have been exploring the possibility of bringing some of these giants back to life. Through genetic engineering and cloning, researchers are working to de-extinct species like the woolly mammoth. The idea is to use DNA from well-preserved mammoth remains to create a hybrid elephant mammoth that could be reintroduced to the Arctic. Proponents of this idea argue that it could help restore lost ecosystems and combat climate change by promoting the growth of grasslands, which reflect more sunlight than forests. Whether or not we'll ever see woolly mammoths roaming the tundra again remains to be seen. But one thing is certain: the legacy of the megafauna lives on. Their fossils continue to inspire awe and curiosity, reminding us of a time when giants walked the earth. And as we face our own challenges, climate change, habitat loss, and biodiversity decline, the story of the megafauna serves as a powerful reminder of the fragility of life on this planet. So, What do you think caused the extinction of the megafauna? Was it humans, climate change, or something else entirely? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of Ice Age giants, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.